Probate. Just the word sends anxiety down the spine of anyone who's ever had to deal with it. It's like a labyrinth, a maze of legal jargon and red tape, and when it involves real estate in Colorado, it can feel like you're navigating a minefield. It starts with the death of a loved one, a moment that's already heavy with grief. You're left with the weight of their belongings, their memories, and, often, their property. The first thing you need to understand is that not all properties go through probate. If the deceased held the property in joint tenancy, or if it was placed in a trust, you might be able to sidestep this whole ordeal. But if not, well, then you're in for a learning experience. So you gather the necessary documents: the death certificate, the will, and any other paperwork that might prove the deceased's intentions. In Colorado, if there's a will, it needs to be filed with the probate court in the county where the deceased lived. You think it's just a matter of submitting the paperwork, but no, it's not that simple. You have to wait for the court to validate the will, a process that can take weeks, sometimes even months. And during that time, you're left wondering about the fate of the property. Is it going to be sold? Will it be inherited? What if there are disputes among the heirs? Once the will is validated, you're appointed as the personal representative. You will be able to deal with all of the next steps of the process. Your first task? Inventory the estate. This means going through the deceased's belongings, including the real estate. You have to assess the value of the property, which can be tricky. You might think you know what it's worth, but unless you're a real estate expert, you're probably going to need a professional appraisal. Now, if there are debts, and let's be honest, there usually are, you have to figure out how to pay them off. The estate is responsible for settling any outstanding debts before any distributions can be made to the heirs. This can include mortgages, credit card debts, and even taxes. In Colorado, the personal representative has to notify creditors, and they have a specific time frame to file claims against the estate. If you miss that window, you could be personally liable for those debts. It's a heavy burden to carry, especially when you're still trying to process your loss. And then there's the matter of selling the property. If the decision is made to sell, you'll need to hire a real estate agent, which adds another layer to the process. You have to consider the market, the condition of the property, and the emotional weight of selling something that belonged to someone you loved. It's not just a transaction, it's a farewell to a piece of their life. Once the property is sold, the proceeds have to be distributed according to the will. But what if there's no will? In Colorado, the laws of intestacy come into play, and that's a whole different ballgame. The state has its own rules about who gets what, and it might not align with what the deceased wills. After all the paperwork, the appraisals, the sales, and the distributions, you will have to submit the final accounting to the court, ensuring all funds are accounted for. It can be a long journey, one that can take time yet necessary to finalize and estate for your loved one.